Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out the radio version of the show every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta. We also air on a podcasting network in Los Angeles called the 405 Media. There's a TV version of the show that airs on KMVT 15 in Silicon Valley at 8 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday nights. Both versions of the show air in other states. For these show times, plus past episodes, please visit the show's website at buildingthefutureshow.com. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com. Join me at the 10th Annual Media Excellence Awards on January 18th in Beverly Hills, California. The attendees and I will be celebrating innovation and leadership in technology and entertainment. There are 20 award categories with 1,000 nominees. These awards honor those who are creating groundbreaking technology to better our lives and celebrate the hard work, determination, and brilliance in the leadership within the companies which create the new world we live in today. I will be recording nominees and winners at the awards. For tickets and more information, go to MediaXAwards.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Scott Holmes. He's the CEO and co-founder at Immortal, and he's also an investor and advisor. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. You've done some really cool things. You're doing some really cool things. But maybe before we kind of get into all that fun stuff, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
We're going to go back that far, huh? Okay.
Yes, I'm
I'll give you the short version. I'm actually from Florida, originally.
Okay.
Though I've been in California for the majority of my life, going on 30 years now. So here in southern sunny California, just north of Los Angeles, on the way to Santa Barbara. So it's been absolutely beautiful here. And I've been in the world of marketing, brand marketing, digital marketing, pretty much my whole life. Cut my teeth with a company called Doc Martens Footwear. I'm sure you've heard.
Yeah, very much so.
We built the brand on the feet of artists, and then moved into the digital space when the internet came around in the mid '90s. And I quickly jumped on board the digital bandwagon and had an agency for, almost 15 years. So I exited that a few years ago, and really helping startups has been my passion. And I've recently started or helped to start my own company, having built other people's brands for so many years. Now building one of our own, and that's where Immortal comes in. It's a Immortal Energy. It's a healthier alternative to energy drinks out there. It's essentially superfoods and triple distilled coffee.
Interesting. So I want to dive obviously more into exactly what you guys do, but I want to step back for a second and talk about why did you decide to co-found this and walk us through the journey of kind of deciding like we need to do this, and then you're like because now you're the CEO and you're a co-founder. So walk us through how you came to decide to actually found this thing.
Well, I like to call it co-creator, and I think in any company, in any startup, it really comes down to who do you have around you, and how you're going to help one another to really build a company to a level that the community embraces, one.
Sure.
And for us, how we build an efficacious product that people love and enjoy. And the quick version of how that started, which is one of my co-founder, Johnny Balick, was he was an herbalist. And he was working with me at my former agency at United Future, and it was not in a beverage form at the time. It was powders and tinctures, and I was quite frankly taking the powder and mixing it in shakes or teas or whatever I could put it in, and it just felt better. I just loved the product, and Johnny, knowing that I've been helping startups, was like, hey, would I be interested in this? And I said, well, if you're willing to make it into a beverage, I think we got something here. And that's where the spark happened.
Very cool.
So, the journey is much longer, and it took us almost a year to formulate into a beverage, and going through the process of commercializing. And we have only officially launched this year. In fact, we launched at Expo West out there in Anaheim, the Natural Beverage Show, and took home Best of Show right out of the gate.
Congrats, man. That's really cool, right? I don't know much about the space, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically, obviously, like your co-founder and co-creator has been doing this for a while, but for you guys to go from basically having kind of an idea to actually making this a real business and kind of launching and winning in like a year or so is a huge accomplishment, right? Especially in the beverage space. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say, and as I mentioned, it really comes down to the people you surround yourself with, and
Sure.
and early on, I knew that we were going to really need some qualified experts in the beverage space. It's a very capital intensive business. It's I like to call it, the beverage industry is the new tech.
Sure.
And we brought one of my dear friends is Jim Tonkin, who is really thought of as the healthy beverage guru, and has helped really the CEOs of companies take it to the level that he has. And I'll mention some names which I'm sure you're familiar: Zico Coconut Water,
yeah.
and helping Mark Rampolla and his company take it from inception to commercialization to exit.
Very cool.
And Suja Juice, which is down in San Diego, really one of the first cold pressed juices. And so Jim is a real expert, and he was one of the first people we went to say, hey, are you interested in this? And he was so interested, he came on board, and he's now chairman of the board.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome, man. So for people that haven't heard of Immortal, what exactly is it? You kind of quickly covered it, but I really want to kind of dive into exactly what it is, and then we'll keep going.
Sure. I'm sure many of you and of your listeners drink coffee.
Sure.
Well, this is
all
unlike
day.
any kind of coffee all day. Well, this is unlike any kind of coffee you've ever had.
Okay.
It is a coconut base. It is infused with superfoods, maca, highest elevation of Peru, rhodiola, and chia. And it packs this amazing healthy punch. It's a unique triple distillation, much like you would think in spirits, but triple distillation process for the Arabica coffee provides a higher potency with less acidity, and it's very pure. So we have really produced this without any additives, preservatives, fillers. I mean, it is a truly efficacious drink, and we call it Immortal Energy because those superfoods I mentioned are really nature's energy. And the whole purpose is to, I have two boys. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I don't want them growing up on the energy drinks that are out there today. Though
Sure.
I know, these there's a lot of kids out there drinking far too many energy drinks, and the way that they're processed I won't go too deep into it, but
Sure.
you can do your own homework.
Yeah.
It's a chemical process. It's very unhealthy, and it's quite scary. So we really wanted to create that healthier alternative that was the way nature intended.
No, that's really cool. So for people that haven't heard of it or seen it, is it a cold? Is it hot? Can it be both? Because I'm looking at your site even right now, and it looks like it's kind of on tap at certain locations. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say. So it's only in Southern California right now, but we'll roll out here in the next year.
Okay.
And it is on tap.
Okay.
Nitro super coffee, and the nitrogen actually is part of our secret sauce and how we maintain without having to have preservatives. But we are moving to a bottle. In fact, The announcement will be made next year. We will be coming out with a 11-ounce bottle.
Okay.
And that will really help us to expand our reach, expand into natural and healthy grocers. We'll maintain the on tap because I think people love it.
Sure.
And, it comes out with that nice little smooth head, if you will. And it's really tasty, by the way. It's been called Liquid Luxury.
Very cool.
By vegan chef Julie Morris.
Sure. That's really cool. So can it be served hot or cold, or it doesn't matter?
It's served cold.
Okay. Okay.
You could, and that's really the basis of the nitrogen. I mean, nitrogen chills it, and
Right.
it's refrigerated. It's a refrigerated drink. It's really, and it's meant to be refrigerated. So it doesn't have a long shelf life. Again, goes back to if we're going to make healthier products, and you don't want to use a lot of the fillers and chemicals required to create what they call shelf-stable product.
Sure.
I mean, anything that is not refrigerated and lasts 12 months, I would be suspect of what's actually in it.
Yeah, especially when it's like meat or something is weird, right? Okay. Yes, I totally get that. So I'm really curious about kind of how do you go from making a beverage to actually getting it kind of, manufactured, and getting it kind of, as we talked earlier about getting a co-packer, and how do you kind of get it from idea to actually having something, but then kind of getting it mass produced and bringing it to market?
Yeah. Inception to commercialization is really probably the hardest
Sure.
Entrepreneurial chasm. When you can do that effectively, and there is no direct path, right? So
Okay.
I can't be here and say, well, this is how step 1 through 5.
Sure. But I also think that's important
say,
to mention too, right? That it's everybody's journey is different, right? You can't really follow somebody else's story to step by step.
That's right. And actually, it's interesting. Journey is an important word there because it is a journey, and it's also a customer journey, right? I mean,
Sure.
in my days of the agency, we used to create, what is a customer journey, and the shift of everyone's heard about, talks about the millennial audience, and
Yep.
and it's whatever name we want to give them. I'm a Gen Xer, and but the millennial audience is I embrace them because they really are, they want to change the world, and they care about the environment. They care about sustainable brands. They care about brands that really have a mission to do good.
Sure.
And, it's okay. You can actually make money in this world and do good at the same time. So, that's what we set out to do. And we, initially mixed the product, and we took it to our audience. In fact, we started in music festivals.
Very cool.
So Lucidity and Lightning in a Bottle and Further Future. You probably heard of some of these.
Yep.
But this is our audience, and they they understand herbs, they understand botanicals, they understand superfoods, and they understand sustainability. So one of our missions is we don't want to put our product in a plastic container, because those plastics will be around 10,000 years from now. So,
Sure.
That's one of the reasons we actually went on tap at first.
Interesting.
And there's different levels of this, but if to go back to your question, it's find your audience, find out what their interests are, right? What's the gap in the marketplace for how we as a company can produce an efficacious product that they can get behind, right? Because they're your new voice box, right? Marketing today, where's marketing? It's in social media.
Yeah.
Not to get on a little bit of a bandwagon here, but when we joke about, we used to joke about the splinter net, right? There were so many different channels that you could reach your audience through, and that was correct for a period of time. And we have all these channels on TV and all these channels online and all these places that we could access and get information. But the truth of it is we've gone full circle, where there used to only be 3 networks in the 60s. There are now only 3 networks.
Yep.
In the early 2000 and what we're about to go into 2000, we're at 2018, is I am shocked that we have come full circle to it's Facebook, it's Google, and Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the three networks. So, how do you speak to your audience, and where, and what's the narrative? And it's important that you do speak to them, meaning having a conversation, not just pushing messages.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And I'm curious then, so you get this product, how did you guys kind of find a co-packer? Because if you're trying to care about all the stuff you just mentioned, that's probably got to eliminate some of the co-packers out there. Is that fair to say?
Man, you are spot on, Kevin.
Okay.
I would say the majority, and I want to put a percentage, but let's say the percentage is a lot closer to 100% than it is 50.
Got you.
Is, co-packers, it's like the industrial age.
Sure.
They're working with equipment that is 20, 30 years old, and it is very challenging to find a co-packer that does not want to, it's got to fit within their mold. Right? That's how they make money. And they're making money with brands that have been in production and reached certain volumes. And in order to match the existing pipeline, if you will, you have to fit into their pipeline. They're not very willing to fit into your new way of producing products. So it eliminated the majority of co-packers that we can move forward with. And what we end up ultimately doing is we had to create what's called a linear model, which is we found a co-packer willing to venture into this new space of natural and efficacious products, and without the chemical and fillers and flavors and all the stuff that they put in it. And so we essentially have our equipment that we've designed and proprietary process of how we produce this is we put this in their facility. So it's essentially a linear production inside a larger facility that they are partners in how we produce it. So they see the vision, they see the growth, they see the opportunity, and very few did, and very few will. But what'll happen is as these success stories start to grow, other co-packers are going to realize they have to, like everything else, right? The consumer's demands change, and either the co-packers will change or they'll die.
Yeah, no, that's just, there's not really that's exactly what's going to happen, and I agree with you. So I'm curious then, so you guys are kind of, you mentioned all over Southern California. How did you actually get into kind of the places that you're in? Because and I'm relating this to kind of the beer kind of side of things. From what I understand about just like beer shelf space in a retail location is you basically have to pay for it, and it's really hard because it's kind of dominated by a couple big brands. Is it the same kind of struggle with kind of doing a beverage as well, or walk me through kind of the struggle of getting it into actual establishments? And you guys are on tap, so I get you guys set yourself apart, and that was potentially maybe one of the reasons why you decided to go on tap.
That is, and again, you're correct in that it's still a bit of the conversation of old guard, new guard. We always heard the stories of large retailers kind of pushing or not retailers, but manufacturers, pushing their weight and their size and their brute force to be able to get the shelf space, and quite frankly, most times they have to pay for that, and that model's being a little disrupted as well.
Oh, so, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it goes back to who our customer is, and as the millennial force is a much greater buying force, and the channels have really been leveled. The opportunity, has been leveled for brands, and if consumers are demanding it, then these grocers, natural grocers, healthy elixir bars, the dominant players are not necessarily that dominant anymore, right?
Interesting.
So,
sure.
For us, we went after the smaller, more notable, influential juice bars and elixir bars and coffee bars, and that's where our audience is.
Mm-hmm.
And they are at a place called Erewhon Market down in Southern California, which is in Santa Monica and Beverly Hills, and it's in Venice. So these healthier grocers, right? I mean, they make a point of being disruptive, and you don't have the same model. And as long as your customer is interested, and hey, it all comes down to whether your product sells. If you're getting the velocity, which is how many units per day per door, that these grocers and retailers and even juice bars expect, then you're great, right? You're going to make it. So you have to have a good product first. I mean, back to your first question of how do you go from conception to commercialization? Make a good product that people like.
Sure. Well, yeah, it sounds so simple, but yeah, that's a lot harder than, but agreed. Yeah, 100% agree, right? Like,
it is not simple, but it is important, and you continually test it. And we did that. We tested it and tested it and tested it, and we're still testing it. And, and it just improves. And every time that you improve it a little bit more and you start to get more of a following, and then you get the buy-in from your earlier retailers. And in our case, it was Sun Life Organics and Juice Ranches and Erewhons of the world, the real influential smaller locations, but don't underestimate, because they do a great business, and they are very strong in their category. So if you get the premier locations, you can then parlay that into larger, and by the time you get to the larger chains, you already have a tremendous following, and you really don't need to convince them that this product is right for their shelf.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay, that's really cool. So I'm curious, though, to maybe move a little bit away from kind of Immortal and start talking about some of the other stuff that you're involved in. You're also an advisor to Renewables Energy Company, which I think basically ties into kind of, it seems like kind of your mission along kind of a lot of the stuff you've been doing, right? Where you're kind of giving back as well, and building a business around kind of giving back. So what exactly is the Renewables Company, and why did you decide to become an advisor?
Yes. So I will, it's a large story that I'll do my best to condense, because you touched on it. It's like, how can I be involved in something, one, that aligns in everything else that I'm doing, and two, meets my criteria and mission of how can we seriously make the world a better place.
Sure.
And I've always been in the natural products and natural industries, and I believe in how we can lift, right, society. And if you look at the world as a whole, it is sad, quite frankly.
Sure. Yeah.
That we still have 30% of the world out there who is impoverished. In fact, for Immortal, a lot of the farmers and the places where we actually source our botanicals and superfoods and ingredients, these are third world countries. And we, one of our mission is we want to be able to help those farmers and help those families that are, part of that whole circle of life ecosystem. And so that got me to thinking, and I'm going to mention something which I'm sure, again, your listeners if they've either heard of it or they're well invested in it already.
Okay.
Which is the blockchain.
Yep.
And one of the things that cryptocurrencies and the blockchain have afforded us is a realization that we really have a tool here. We have a platform here where we can lift those impoverished countries and nations. And a dear friend of mine was in the renewable space for many years, Dan Bates, and he started a company called Impact PPA.
Okay.
Impact PPA, which PPA stands for Power Purchase Agreement, is a renewables clean energy company. And they are unlike the big utility companies. I mean, they're in 35 countries already. They're delivering they're delivering solar and wind combined power to these locations that just can't afford or doesn't currently have power. And so if you look at again an example of one that I'll use, and well, actually before I do that, let me just tell you real quickly what it is.
Sure.
Is the entire grid, if you will, is going to reside on the blockchain.
Sure.
Now, what the power of this is there of those 30% or greater of people that I just mentioned and living in these third world countries, the majority are unbanked.
Okay.
So they really don't have a way to pay for power, even if they were to get power.
Interesting.
Yet, they all have a mobile device.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a mobile phone. They don't have a bank. But if we put in a energy system, a clean energy, renewables energy system, through the governments or through the utility companies that are there, and we, in part, help to finance that system and have those end consumers pay via their mobile device on the blockchain, they will be able to, for the, whether it's a day, a week, or a month, pay for their utilities via their mobile phone. And all these transactions are happening on the blockchain. We're about to announce, it's very interesting. So now the very farmers that we are getting product from, we can help light up their community, light up their facility or farm, and literally every step of the way, whether it's the utility, whether it's the product that goes through the distribution or the supply chain path, when it comes into the States, when we manufacture it, it's all going to reside on the blockchain.
Yeah,
so when the consumer, at the end of the day, purchases that product, how do you really know that it's organically certified, or that, what the time date stamp is for when you should drink the product by? When you have a QR code that basically you can scan and see exactly when that product has come into the country, when it's been manufactured, how long it's good for, all at the fingertips of your mobile device.
Yeah.
Now that's a world I want to live in.
Sure. Well, go ahead. Keep going. Sorry.
Well, one last thing is full circle back to Impact PPA.
Yep.
Is it's decentralized.
Mm-hmm.
It is run by the community, for the community, and paid for. So all of that excess red tape and third-party intermediary is really, I won't call it fully eliminated, but it's reduced to such a way that we can actually now service and deliver this for a fraction of the cost, which makes it affordable.
Mm-hmm. Sure, right. And then, well, you could even use that for Immortal, right?
100%. That's the idea. So, I was more than happy to come aboard Impact PPA. I'm an investor. I'm an advisor. I love what they're doing over there. I think Dan Bates is we knew each other back in the tech world when I had the agency, and he's an innovator. He's an inventor. And he's been in this space for 10 years, and
wow.
And quite frankly, or your listeners may not realize this or know this, but one of the reasons that renewables energy has not taken off is because you have to, when they bid on these larger projects, you have to then get financing for these projects, and the financing has to come from the government or from the IMF or from some, world source, because it is quote unquote renewables, right? Yeah. Well, that could take months, years, or never happen.
Yep.
So these projects rarely get off the ground.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to come in, actually build it, finance it, deploy it, and have the end user pay for it.
Yeah, interesting.
Again,
that's game changing, really.
Game changing. Absolutely game changing.
It's interesting because I have a friend that's doing some stuff in the renewable space, so I know a bit about it. So, but yeah, to me, that's very much game changing, because what you just described is a problem that he's seen throughout his career a bit too, where a lot of the stuff is really cool, but it never kind of makes it past like a research phase at like maybe even an institution, right? And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just they have trouble getting it into the market where you're like, this would change, many people's lives across the globe. But the fact that you guys have kind of cracked that is really actually fascinating to me.
Well, thank you. And we're about to announce, we'll give you a little teaser here.
Sure.
Is to show that, this is more than a concept. And again, taking it from concept to commercialization is we have now secured several contracts. They're going to be put on the blockchain through the Impact PPA blockchain. And we are about to announce Haiti, which one of those, again, devastated countries from the prior hurricane.
Yeah.
And we're talking to people now in Puerto Rico as well who were just devastated by the last hurricane. But even Haiti has still not recovered from the one that hit there. And we're about to announce an Impact PPA deal with the government that is going to produce a power grid. It's starting with one city and going across 42 cities in Haiti at over 150 kilowatt hours, which is a massive project, all going to be purchased basically by the end consumer through a mobile device. That's what they're really excited about. I mean, the seamlessness of how we can deliver, implement, set up, and I mean in record time.
Wow. And
have consumers that otherwise don't have access or means to even pay for energy now will have so.
That's very cool. That's huge. It's almost like you can't comprehend how huge that is, right? Because we take for granted so many things in North America that, we all have, well, not everybody, but a lot of people have, like the latest smartphone and a really nice tablet and then a laptop. But we get to experience the internet high speed for the most part on many different screens where I think we forget sometimes in North America that a lot of people will never see the internet on a bigger screen than their phone, right? And it's not at the speeds that we get it at. So to me, that's huge, man. Congrats. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. And as I said, it's not any one person that ever gets this done. It's a community. And I probably a good time to mention. So I don't know if someone you've come across or know about, but Brock Pierce, who is said to be really one of the godfathers of the ICO, initial coin offerings, and he is an advocate and really a voice for community around the world. And he said, I'll use a quote that he uses, which is, if we talk about the newly minted billionaires, well, his definition of a billionaire isn't $1 billion. It's how do we positively affect 1 billion people.
Interesting. That is a way better way of looking at it.
Yeah, and that to me is what it's all about. And if you're doing that, and people like Brock and others that have a real mission for change and have a real mission for helping and making one's life and many lives much better, the money will come. It's finally time. I think people can be comfortable with the fact, and this new generation is proving it. It's live your life through experiences, live your life through your passion, and don't chase the dollar, because guess what, the dollar is going to change, and who's to say what a dollar is anymore, because today it's a digital cryptocurrency.
Yep. Yeah, which is wild, right? If you actually think about and I think it's going to happen, but and there'll be people that disagree with me, but when a cryptocurrency is kind of the currency of the world, or a handful of them, or however that shakes out, is going to be actually really fascinating, and it'll probably happen in most of our lifetimes within the next 5 to 10 years, potentially, right?
It will happen. The velocity, that word I've used before in another way, but and how I use velocity today is in the time and speed in which it takes for technologies to be adapted, and really becoming more useful, that time has collapsed. It's amazing. I mean, how, if we think about how fast we thought the internet changed the world and changed everyone's lives. I mean, look at, again, I go back to Amazon, right? Yeah. And you've got on a path to become one of the first probably $1 trillion market cap companies. And, Jeff Bezos always had the vision. But today, what the blockchain has the potential of doing is expediting that. In fact, reinventing, right, what we think of the internet, because this is really, from a crypto level, this is really meant to ride atop of, or maybe even displace the internet for, a new internet called the blockchain. That's what is so exciting about this field, and it's going to happen faster than we think. So I think you're right, and to say it's going to be 5 years instead of 10.
Sure, and I also think, to just kind of what we've been talking about this whole show, is it might take 10 years, say, in North America, but like in other parts of the world, they're adopting kind of this technology almost a lot faster, because they don't have a way to do it now. Like with your impact PPA, like just being able for them to be able to pay finally online with the cryptocurrency, like they didn't have a way before. So like there's no old system to kind of get rid of. They didn't have a system.
Kevin, I'm smiling from ear to ear, because I love my country and I love where I live, and I wouldn't change it.
Sure,
I'm
same here. Yeah.
But we could not do what we're doing in this country.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah. It takes years, right?
It couldn't happen.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah.
And so, what we're able to do, and what the communities and governments are doing in places like Japan and South Korea and even China. I mean, people, beat up China, but my gosh, I mean, look at, if you're familiar with WeChat.
Yeah.
I mean, WeChat has been a digital phenom and has 600 million people, transacting digitally every day.
Just in China, probably. And most people never even heard of it in North America, right?
Yeah, I still come across people who have no idea what WeChat is, and here there's right. We heard about WhatsApp when Facebook purchased them, but very similar technology. But WeChat has taken it to a whole nother level. I mean, they're using it for everything, literally everything. They're buying dinners at night with via their app.
Yeah, well, I was watching a documentary about just kind of like the little tech, kind of like flea markets there, and like a guy would get like a little logic board or something, and he would just send a vendor, quick payment through WeChat, right? Like right there, right? It's almost like what we use Square for in North America sometimes, but like they just like send it like a message. Or I know Apple's got their Apple Pay, you can like send money through iMessage. It's the same concept. Like we just started adapting it, where a country like China has been using basically what Apple and Google has just kind of recently released for years.
Yeah. I mean, they just, like you said, they didn't have the infrastructure. So, when the outliers, and I say outliers, meaning that, the millions, if not billions of people that lived outside of the cities, they didn't have to really adopt the old, industry way. They just went right to a mobile device. I mean, mobile has really changed the world. So it, it's actually, by the way, why I'm, I've been part of the mobile industry for since its inception.
Sure.
And still part of it. And I'm absolutely convinced, that we've not even scratched the surface of what it's going to help us do.
Sure. So that's actually a really good segue as we're kind of coming in close to the end of the show. I really want to talk about your involvement with, the Interactive Television Alliance, and kind of you've been a mobile ambassador for the Media Excellence Awards. I kind of want to talk about that to kind of close out the show. So walk us through kind of your involvement with those organizations and why you decided to get involved. I'm sure it's pretty clear at this point because we've been kind of covering why, but for people maybe tuned in a bit later, why did you kind of decide to get involved with all these different things?
Certainly. Well, I have to go back to the early days of my agency and my love for the internet and what I saw, and what was possible, call it an early adopter, is we were building apps or applications before they were called apps. They were called widgets.
Sure. Yeah, I remember those days.
Yep. We had built for a lot of the major studios, Warner Brothers and ABC, Disney, ABC. I think we were doing 26 shows of ABC, including Lost,
Wow.
when that was popular.
Yeah.
And it was an exciting time. And when Apple obviously changed the world with the iPhone, it was like, oh, wow, okay, so we have a whole marketplace for apps. And this is also around the same time that the Academy of Television was really looking at broadband. And in fact, they weren't really looking at broadband. It was more, they didn't understand that broadband content could come from anywhere. It didn't have to actually reside on television. As we were building these applications through mobile devices, we were saying, look, people are going to be able to watch content from anywhere and from any device. And so, we need to rethink what it means to be excellence in television, because content truly is key and always has been. And now we can consume it from anywhere. Look, again, Netflix, that's a testament to that. And so we're part of the executive committee actually that helped to define the Television Academy's acceptance of broadband, and that happened, I think, oh my gosh, I'm thinking back, it was started in like 2006, but it wasn't until 2008 that broadband content would be accepted and as an Emmy.
Which is wild to me, but yeah, okay, sure. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
But
And now we don't even think twice about it, right? Because House of Cards was one of the first actual winners of an Emmy, and that show had never touched the network television.
Right.
So there is a real shift that happened at that time, and Mobile Excellence Awards was really in its early inceptions. In fact, Sarah Miller, the founder of the Mobile Excellence Awards, and people like Daniel Tibbetts and John Ruby and John Roberts, they call him JPR. These were all people that were in the entertainment industry and, not really mobile, which is the funny part. I think I was one of the only that had an agency that was developing for the mobile industry, but they were coming from it from an entertainment side. John Ruby was with AEG and music, and how music was really shifting to mobile. Daniel Tibbetts and JPR, John Roberts, were coming at it from content production and creation. And actually, Daniel was even part of an early mobile company that was delivering mobile content. So that was a long way of kind of saying, right? We were this group of champions, if you will, that cheerleaders that were saying, hey, mobile's here. In fact, we starting the mantra of mobile first.
I love it.
And, in the early days of the MEAs, Mobile Excellence Awards, it was pretty small, I will say. There wasn't a lot of, like, what is this and why does it matter? And but today, we're about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary, and it's amazing to see, wow, what has happened in the last 10 years.
Sure.
And especially when it comes to mobile.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And, sadly, we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So, and I'm excited to actually meet you in person in January at the Media Excellence Awards. But I really want to mention, just to close the show, where people can get more information about kind of yourself, Immortal, Impact PPA, and kind of anything else that you want to mention, because you're involved in a lot, and we kind of scratch the surface on kind of everything that you've done and been involved in. So maybe mention where people can get more information about all that stuff. Well,
I appreciate it, Kevin, and really thank you again for your time, and I look forward to seeing you as well, the Mobile Excellence Awards. So that's January 18th. you can go to mobilexawards.com, and it is, shorthand MEAs, our 10-year anniversary. We, if you interested in our healthy beverage, our healthy energy, you can certainly check that out at immortal.com, and it's how you phonetically say it, immortal, IMMORDL.com. And for those, interested in this amazing, crazy new shift to blockchain and cryptocurrency, by all means, check out impactppa.com. And those are the 3 locations where you could find a little bit more about what we're working on.
Perfect, Scott. Well, again, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show. I look forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing you next month. So have a good rest of your day, man, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks to everyone out there, because this is an exciting time, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Perfect, man. Thanks a lot. We'll talk soon. Okay, bye.
Bye now.
Thanks for listening. Please visit the show's website at buildingthefutureshow.com. Also check us out on Facebook at Building the Future Show and follow us on Twitter at Building Show. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.